pawn sacrifice is fun, but a bit overblown. Hey, Cypher here. Pawn Sacrifice is a movie about Bobby Fischer's victory in chess over the Soviet grandmaster Boris Spassky in 1972. There's some problems, but nothing too horrid. It doesn't deserve to have been neglected as it has, not even making half of its budget in theaters. Bobby Fischer was a chess prodigy who rose to prominence in 1956 at the age of 13. Born to a communist mother who was absent most of his life in Brooklyn,
she's run away with some nutcase Bigfoot communist.
He was understandably a troubled genius. He continued to gain acclaim for over a decade, while simultaneously suffering from progressively worsening bouts of paranoia.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I've seen them follow me. They bug the phones in my hotel rooms. I heard they can even listen through the fillings in your teeth. You're kidding, right? No, I'm not kidding. You should go see your dentist.
At that time, the Soviet Union had dominated the international chess championships for years, but Fischer rose to challenge them. With the growing hatred for the USSR after the resentment he held for his mother, along with the increased paranoia, he strove hard to defeat the reigning Soviet champion. Eventually, the USSR's greatest champion, Boris Spassky, was defeated by Fischer in 1972, even though the championship was fought with ridiculous concessions to satiate Fischer's lunacy.
There are no cameras, are there?
No, it's just as we agreed. Are you comfortable?
Yes, thank you.
How about the noise? Does it bother you?
No, that's why I like it here. The audience is so quiet.
Fischer quit chess completely and did not play another match until 1992. In the meantime, he went fully crazed, becoming a tinfoil hat-level conspiracy nut with anti-Semitic tendencies, even though he was actually born into a Jewish family. He went to Yugoslavia during the wars there in order to defeat Spassky again. This violated the UN ban on travel there, and he was ordered to be arrested. So he became a fugitive for years, before finally being granted asylum in Iceland in 2005, where he died in 2008. Generally, nothing in this film is verifiably false. I've seen people who complain about the notation being presented for the game, but that's not a concern to me, nor is the miscalculation of the number of moves possible.
After only 4 moves, there's more than 300 billion options to consider. There's more 40-move games than there are stars in the galaxy.
Though that is a bit of a contradiction when later on we find out how high-level players really see the game.
It's almost all theory and memorization. People think there are all these options, but there's usually one right move. Of course, in the end, there's no place to go.
These things don't affect Fischer's actual story, so I'm not very concerned about them. If you want to learn about Bobby Fischer, this is actually a fairly competent way of showing why he was a household name. But the movie does take that a bit too far. The central conceit of this movie is that the defeat of the Soviet grandmaster in 1972 was this huge symbolic victory for the Cold War, and that by pushing Fischer to do well against the Russians, America sacrificed Fischer's sanity for the victory. Get it? Fischer himself is the pawn being sacrificed in Pawn Sacrifice. The whole movie goes out of its way to draw out the whole Cold War allegory.
They say, oh, it's just a game for fun, hand of friendship, all that crap, but you know the truth, they're laughing at us. They think that chess dominance proves Soviet intellectual superiority over the decadent West.
I am honored but confused. I was always led to believe that chess needed 2 people for a game. Unfortunately, our American friends have managed to lose a famous Mr. Bobby Fischer. One hopes they're not so careless with their nuclear weapons.
We're losing Vietnam. We have to win this one.
There are boys your age in Vietnam giving their lives right now in the fight against communism, and all you have to do is play a game of chess.
Now, that's just too much. No one was talking about it as that kind of allegory. Seriously, how many Americans even cared about chess? It was just another chess competition, not Rocky Balboa versus Ivan Drago. They took this to an absurd level by implying that Fischer's agent was also an agent of the US government. He was not. At one point, he says,
"The President of the United States called 3 times. 3. Well, he's been trying to reach you. In Moscow, Brezhnev opened his only bottle of 1868 Louis Roederer, left over from the revolution. You know why? Because he heard you quit."
No, that did not happen, though it is hinted that it was a lie. Fischer was not important enough for Nixon to come off his high horse in order to deal with this. We're told that Spassky was the champion in Los Angeles because Fischer quit. Spassky wasn't even that much of a contender in 1962. He wouldn't become a world champion until 1969. I get that they're trying to build up the rivalry in the narrative here, but that's just falsifying something that is fairly easy to look up. Also, they're mixing a couple of matches together because Fischer didn't accuse the Soviets of cheating here.
I want to make this very clear. The Russians are cheating. Everybody knows what's going on. The corrupt Federation does nothing to stop it. And there can be no legitimate world champ if I'm not playing. And I'm not going to play because this is unfair. It's unjust. It's immoral. I quit. I don't just quit this tournament. I am quitting chess.
He did this in an interview with Sports Illustrated magazine instead. They're just trying to save time in building the rivalry. In trying to depict Fischer's mind as a sacrifice to the Cold War, they go out of their way to vilify people as actively blocking him from getting psychiatric attention. It's justified in the movie by saying that giving him medication would be like,
What good would a doctor do?
Give him a diagnosis. Give him a pill.
That would be like pouring concrete down a holy well.
Now that's eloquent, but the fact is, Fischer actively fought against any psychiatric attentions. His sanity wasn't sacrificed, he was simply going crazy of his own accord. Fischer's craziness was not a result of being pushed too hard in 1972. The US is not at fault for his insanity. He grew up in a fractured household and was already quite insane by 1962. People just dealt with it. What really set him off was the years he had gone untreated for his mental problems. To go with this crazy genius mentality, the movie mentions Paul Morphy, an 1850s American grandmaster who supposedly went crazy himself.
You ever hear of Paul Morphy? 1855. Greatest player this country ever had. Before Bobby, that is. But by 21, he'd beat every master in Europe. But then, things started to get a little weird. He started having visions and became convinced that people were trying to poison him. He quit at 26 and eventually killed himself in a bathtub surrounded by 12 pairs of ladies' shoes.
Well, that's a lie. There are some urban legends about how he liked ladies' shoes, but these have been proven incorrect. He actually tried to become a lawyer during and after the American Civil War, but was never successful. His family was rich, so he lived alright until he died of a stroke in 1884. This whole tragic genius thing is a nice narrative, but it just doesn't hold up to reality very well. Just read that real quick. No one was saying that then, nor are they saying it now. Game 6 of that match is considered the best of that match, but it certainly wasn't.
Fischer's moves are unprecedented in chess history. No one seems to be able to decipher what he's doing.
Or,
But I guess this is something no one has ever seen before.
Hell, by the movie's own admission, it wasn't even the greatest of Fischer's career. people still call his 1956 victory.
Today he played American master Donald Byrne and beat him in what is already being described as the game of the century.
And there are plenty of other games lauded as better than Game 6. Nice try, movie, but it's a little bit overblown. So, also, about the whole production on this, casting Tobey Maguire for this role is a bit awkward. He's a good actor for the role, but there is a bit of a misconception that comes with his figure. Bobby Fischer actually worked out regularly, using bodybuilding as a way to concentrate. After playing Spider-Man, Maguire is associated with scrawny geeky dudes, but that's just a bad stereotype. Fischer did not fit that at all. One last minor thing that's kind of bugging me. During the 1972 match, the movie shows the coaches moving pieces on boards in parallel to the actual match. That's correct, but why are they punching their own clocks? Who does that? The people actually playing can keep track of their own time, no need to waste that much effort. Man, chess is intense, isn't it? No. It's actually fairly boring to watch and extremely arcane for the uninitiated. It's kind of a funny touch, but it's kind of awkward for anybody who knows how to play the game properly. You see, there are some problems with this movie, but they aren't too egregious. Really, it's just overstating certain things. Pawn Sacrifice deserves more attention.